Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. I just listened to the words of Max Allegri in press conference to prepare the game of tomorrow in our stadium, the Allianz Stadium against Lecce. Ragazzi, I was really curious about the press conference. Why? Because it's right after that big loss, that humiliation against Sassuolo 4-2, because yes, let's use the words that needs to be used. It is a humiliation. It's difficult for me to still digest. We are on Monday, we play tomorrow, the game was on Saturday. I'm still angry. Anyway, I was really curious because I wanted to know how the team reacted against Sassuolo. And Max spoke about the consequences, how they analyzed that game. He spoke about the second topic that was, and I'm sure that you will be happy to listen to the answer. I'm not sure if you will be satisfied with the answer, but the question that the journalist asked about why not setting higher expectations, because we are speaking so many times about top 4, and I know that a lot of Juventini, they are not happy. We are Juve, we need to speak only about Scudetto. So what is the reason for not setting higher expectation, explained by Max Allegri? Then he spoke about the initial lineups, who will start in the goal, Szczesny or Perin. He spoke about some individual, like for example the physical state of Federico Chiesa, Moise Kean. He spoke about Dusan Vlahovic, and there was one player in particular that when he spoke about him, he had sparkling and shining eyes, and I have to say that I'm super happy to see the non-verbal of Max Allegri when he spoke about that particular player. And then I will finish after the press conference speaking about Giuntoli, that for the first time really tried also to give support in a difficult situation. What are the guidelines that we took? Because yesterday he went on the field, he went in the locker rooms, he spoke with the staff and with the players. So all of this in today's video, maximum of likes, subscribe to the channel if you didn't yet, because we start. Of course, the first question was about the state of the team after that loss against Sassuolo, where he said, we must play a game to go back to victory, to cancel an ugly loss against Sassuolo. Important words, because today he said victory, a word that I don't remember he was using before the game of Sassuolo. He spoke about the possible consequences of a win, the possible consequences of a draw or a loss. Try not to go too much with enthusiasm, but I didn't hear a lot of time the word victory. Today he was convinced about using that word because that's what we have to do. We have only one option, winning against an unbeaten team, because there are two unbeaten teams in Serie A, Inter and Lecce, the team that we are playing against tomorrow. So a win is important, and also putting a label on that game on Sassuolo. It was ugly. Words of Max Allegri. Then he said, I really hope that the game against Sassuolo is something that happens once a season, because he spoke about the fact that defense was not great, that the goalkeeper Szczesny made a lot of individual mistakes, not only him. He said things that we can't explain ourselves. Yesterday we were in meeting, we spoke about the game, but these individual mistakes, we can't understand it, we can't explain ourselves. But also about the reaction, because they traveled from Sassuolo to Torino, coming back. Yesterday they were all together, and we wanted to know, we were curious to know and understand how the team was reacted after that loss. And he said 3 words. First, the team was disappointed. I hope so. The second one, the team was angry, and I think that really we need a bit of anger. Otherwise, if we are just passive, it will be difficult to face Lecce. And the third one, the team is motivated for what happened against Sassuolo. We will be ready and with more attention against Lecce. Then there was a question from a journalist that if I was journalist, which I'm not, and if I had the opportunity, the luck to be there in front of Max in press conference, I would probably have asked him more or less with other words. But the question of the journalist was about the fact that we anticipated in press conference on Friday that the team probably was, with a lot of enthusiasm, whatever, that probably would have done a wrong step in the game of Sassuolo. We already debriefed that. Yesterday I made a really interesting video about it. Well, the words of Max is not denying it. He said, we tried to solve what we anticipated in the last press conference, but we failed. We failed. Football is not an exact science. We tried all together to find alternatives to what happened last game. Yesterday in meeting, we spoke about the Sassuolo game, about the Sassuolo topics, especially about the mental part, that mental collapse. We defended really badly, and there were individual mistakes. We must live with the pressure and sense of responsibility, and on these aspects we must continue to work on. He spoke about responsibility He spoke about pressure, and he even repeated it, that when you are at Juventus, you need to have that desire of the result. When you are at Juventus, you are obliged to try to reach every time the maximum result out of it. The two big factors that you have at Juventus are, one, sense of responsibility for everyone, including himself, but also to live and to manage pressure. That even can be fantastic, because when you have pressure, that means that you can achieve really great things. So sometimes pressure can be fantastic, but you have to do it, because these two things are the most beautiful things, because they offer you stimuli. Last season, we made the important decision to build the future of this team. Tomorrow, there is an opportunity to change the situation that we are in today. So you see, in that first part, because then we go to the second part, in that first part of the press conference, he's saying, we need to win, we need to go back to victory, we have to cancel that ugly situation. We spoke about it, not denying that he anticipated the fact, but that he couldn't find the words, the way to avoid what he already anticipated in the game of Sassuolo, but they try to speak now, they try to find alternatives of what happened in Sassuolo. That people, also him including, but the players, we need to have that responsibility sense and managing pressure, because there is pressure at Juventus. You know it, we lost a humiliation game against Sassuolo, but even with the draw against Bologna, and the pressure is there from the media, from the supporter, from all the people around Juve. Then he spoke about that second topic that I told you about, setting higher expectation. First of all, he said Inter, Milan, and Napoli are above all the other ones. Inter deserve to be on top of the ranking at the beginning of the season. Top 4 would be an important result. Without putting us limits, to enter the top 4 would be crucial on all different aspects. We already spoke about all the aspects about the future of playing Champions League. First of all, the most important one, financially. Without the revenues, the entry of next Champions League, it would be a total disaster. But also to grow in experience with the young players that we have, to continue to rotate, to also be more attractive on Mercato, and so on and so on. But one thing that probably will not be reported a lot of time is when he said it's important to enter top 4 without putting us limits. So he's never saying if we are in top 4 at a certain moment of the season, we can't do better. We can't dream more about third spot, second spot, top number 1 spot. But let's not run too fast, because we are in the beginning of the season. What about setting higher objectives? What about leading with the words in saying, no, not only entering top 4, but we have to have the objective of winning the Scudetto? He said, and I will read, it's not that if we increase the objective that we will improve magically. We must improve on the field every single day, knowing our limits and working on them to transform them as strength. The reality is that there are on the paper 3 teams favored to win the Scudetto. That doesn't mean that we have to stop at the 4th spot. But entering the top 4 will not be an easy task, because Fiorentina, Atalanta, Lazio, Roma, there are a lot of valid competition. Focus on the objective, and then in the future we will see what I just told you. The fact, and that's really important, is that we had the opportunity against Sassuolo to be first, even if it was for one night only, to be first on top of that Serie A, and that we failed. This is the reality. So let's face the reality. Dreaming is beautiful, but attenzione, having the desire is more important, because having the desire brings you to result. Dreaming, no. So let's not fly. You already repeated it, step by step by step. That's the big message about the communication, about the setting higher objective. So I don't know if you agree or not with that explanation of Max Allegri. And then he finished with, we have a team that has the potential to grow for the future, but we could face problems if we jump on a roller coaster. Do you remember last week when we were speaking about finding the right balance? Not going on roller coaster. We win a game and we are fantastic. We will win the Serie A. We will reach 101, 103 points. Exaggerated. But if we lose a game, not going into depression, because that can be a really danger. So roller coaster, avoid them. If you see a beautiful roller coaster, don't jump on it, because that can be really dangerous. So he spoke about the individuals as well. That will be the last part before jumping into the June words yesterday and the guidelines. He spoke about Federico Gatti. He said he already played 26 games with the first team. Games like he had last week can happen in a career of a player. He needs to be tranquillo, stay calm, serene, to think about playing and improving the mistakes that he did. What about the starter in the goal tomorrow? Szczesny. And I told it yesterday when I was live with Romeo Agresti. I said, I think that against Lecce would have seen probably Perin, but now with the mistakes of Szczesny, psychologically you play him. Then against Atalanta, let's see what he will do. But against tomorrow, he said already Szczesny will play. What about the other ones? Well, he needs to evaluate, especially today, physical conditions, because there are some players with small problems. Moise Kean and Federico Chiesa. They need to be tested to see if they are recuperating from a small problem that they already had. He didn't decide yet, but today he will decide. Then, continuing on Federico Chiesa and Dusan Vlahovic, one of them can start from the bench. So he said it also depends on the situation of Moise Kean, if he will be in or if he will be out. So Moise Kean is a bit more in difficulty and has lower chance to be called up for tomorrow. Chiesa will be there, not sure yet if he will start the game or not. But then, when there was a question of a journalist who has more possibilities to start tomorrow between Rugani, Milik and Yildiz, he said Rugani and Milik are doing okay, they are doing well. But then he spoke about Yildiz, and he said Yildiz is coming back after a great, beautiful goal with the Next Gen. Happy that the Next Gen won because it was their first victory after a difficult start. And then he said Yildiz is a kid that plays really well, and I like him really a lot. Guys, I'm sorry if you were not able to watch the images, because you had to see the face, the eyes of Max Allegri when he mentioned Kenan Yildiz. Something magical is happening there. Yesterday, I anticipated it, and I made a video with Romeo Agresti, where I put it as a short on YouTube. You can go and watch it. I also put it on Instagram, where I told you that I would personally, tomorrow, play Kenan Yildiz between the lines, without really believing that it could happen. But when I saw the face, the eyes, the smile of Max Allegri when he spoke about that young Turkish kid, mamma mia. It was really beautiful to see, touching moment. Who knows if tomorrow he can be the surprise from the start, or maybe having more minutes than the 14 minutes into a game that he already did until since the beginning of the season. So pay attention there. He was happy about Chiesa, that he sees now more and more involved into the game. He's happy about that. He can still improve in that role. And then they need to check also Dusan, because there was a question about more the emotional part about Dusan Vlahovic. He said, yes, he needs to continue to grow, to find balance in a game. In football, not always all the things are going well. You can't just every time score goals and so on and so on. But important is to focus and to stay in the game without being frustrated, because it doesn't help. If you're frustrated, if you're angry, you are not anymore as focused as possible in the game, and then you start doing mistake after mistake. He said there are some players that has a growing path that needs more time to arrive and to be able to control that. Some other players are doing it really faster. But in a few years, Dusan Vlahovic, in that aspect, will be a totally different player. What else did he said? He spoke about leadership. And that's a thing that didn't convince me really a lot, because there was a question of Romeo Agresti that said, do you think that we are lacking a bit of leadership in the team? He said, we have Danilo, we have Szczesny, we have Alexandro, even if he's injured. He said, we have also Rugani. We said it, he said as well, we lost in experience, but we won in velocity, in enthusiasm. We have to continue to work in serenity. He didn't really answer that question. If you're telling me Danilo, Szczesny, Alexandro, Rugani, ragazzi, I don't know how convinced you're making me about leadership. I don't know. So he dribbled a bit that question about leadership. Anyway, leadership is not only the player that needs to show it, but also him as a leader of the team, as the coach, but also being supported. What last year we were not able to have, because there was nobody anymore to be able to support the team above Max Allegri. Now with Giuntoli, that is taking also care of the mercato, he's also taking care of the day-by-day situation. And after that loss against Sassuolo, yesterday he did something crazy. He did something totally normal, something that I was expecting, putting his face on it. So yesterday he went to play that role of psychologue. He entered, spoke with the players individually, he spoke with the staff, and they chose a guideline together with Max Allegri is, at the moment, don't start to yell, don't start to go over crazy and to scream and to whatever, to put the fist on the table, because the risk is that you can destroy every beautiful things that we did since the beginning of the season, because they were beautiful things. Don't forget about it. That tourney in USA, that is absolutely not counting, not important, but that tourney in USA that gave you a greater environment, some positive vibes, that game against Udinese, the Empoli win, the super win against Lazio. There are games where we saw some improvements. A team that is playing higher, a team that is trying to increase the velocity, higher pressure, all things that we didn't see against Sassuolo. So the first support of Giuntoli, together with Max Allegri, will be to give that human support, to understand and to try to focus on the positive rather than at the moment the negative. Then, in a few days, in a few weeks, if we will have another way of taking guidelines to speak with the team, we will discover it. Hopefully not, because I want immediately to win tomorrow against Lecce. So that was the recap of press conference and what yesterday Cristiano Giuntoli did in the locker room. I tell you, again, that Kenan Yildiz, the way that Max spoke yesterday, will there be a surprise? I'm really curious to see maybe tomorrow Kenan together with Vlahovic, or Kenan together with Milik and Vlahovic. Let's see. Grazie, forza, Juve.